If you're searching for a place that has an unlimited abundance of variety in people and food and cultural activities and events, that has a variety of different spaces available for all different kinds of demographics, of religions, of orientations, identities, and just like a bustling melting pot of a bunch of cultures just coming together, I am saddened to let you know that as it is currently, Austin is just simply not that place. Now, I do want to mostly focus on the diversity of people in Austin, which obviously is going to affect things like culture, food, and music. But it is important, especially for someone who is looking to move to Austin to make new friends or to meet people, network here, maybe start a business here, start a family here, and develop deep roots in Austin. I think it is important to just have an idea of what to expect when you move here. Now, in addition to providing just my subjective opinion and my experience of having lived in Austin for a little over a year now, I think that it's almost impossible to understand why a place is the way that it is without having some historical context. I would like to just briefly share some things that are important to know as we're thinking about why Austin is not necessarily a diverse place, why you don't see a lot of minorities around. Now, if you live in America, you probably already know those reasons, but I will just briefly state them here for anyone who is not familiar with them. Austin is a little over 60% white, and it is just about 8% Black. What's interesting is that when people think of Austin, they think of the city booming, right? Because of tech, because of Oracle, Elon Musk, I'm sure played a part. Joe Rogan as well played a part. Even as a result of that boom, the representation of minority communities is still extremely low. So obviously, like a lot of other American cities, Austin has a history of segregation and racial discrimination, such as redlining and gentrification. Property values rise, residents who had been there for a long time get displaced, and then as a result of that, obviously neighborhoods start to lose their cultural identity. So I just want to give that brief history. Now, obviously, if you're interested in more of the history of Austin, you're welcome to look it up. I just wanted to give that as a background. If you want to argue with me and my subjective opinions, that's fine, but don't argue with history. There's no point in doing that. Okay? All right. You might have noticed that in the beginning of the video, I did not mention that it was not like musically diverse or kind of not diverse in the arts, because Austin is. I will say that even I remember I went surfing in California, and I was talking to a surf instructor who was telling me that he really admired Austin for how much it values its like smaller artists and like underground artists, I guess. I will back that statement up. I think that Austin has a great way of supporting especially local artists. Even if you're a smaller band, like you have a chance of finding a venue and playing there. For Texas City, Austin is welcoming. Out of all the Texas cities, Austinites are very sweet. They're very welcoming. Most people that you meet in Austin are not actually from here, but I guess they're just kind of on the same vibe of just being kind, being nice. I have not experienced any overt racism here. Just the other day, I was at actually a nudist lake with my boyfriend, and everyone was comfortable just having their peepees and their boobies out, and that was fine. I think that Austin is known for its like weirdness a little bit, and I definitely don't want to take away from that. Now, that being said, when I talk to people who were born and raised in Austin, who have been here over a decade, I always ask them about how much it's seen the city change, and they always mention that Austin has absolutely changed like tenfold, and that it used to be a lot of like that weirder kind of like cool hippie thing, and then now it's turning into again that like tech innovative hub type of thing. I think there is a tiny bit of like fake woke culture sometimes. I think there was another creator on YouTube who talked about this when he moved to Austin. He was a Black creator, and he said how it's not very easy to find clubs that play like hip hop or rap, for example. Coconut Club is one of those places where I've went and they played a segment of like hip hop music. But the one experience I did have when I went to Coconut Club, I was dancing, doing my thing. I wasn't even doing all that. I was giving like maybe 50% effort, okay? And I'm a good dancer, I will say that, but I was going like 50%, right? And just like dancing with my friends, and this white dude comes up, he's like, okay girl, like you are owning the scene, like you are the spotlight, like you are the queen, like go girl, yes girl. I wasn't offended by that by any means, but that's like the essence of like Austin. It's like I'm like, we're connected on like a human level, but like you're like, you know, you're kind of like the Black specimen, not in even a racist way, but just kind of like it's so evident that a lot of white people here don't have Black friends, and so they base their interactions with you off of like stereotypes that they're used to, but in like a low-key I'm trying to connect with you sister queen type of way. And that happens to me a lot. And I especially notice it when people change their way of speaking. Like they'll start speaking like vernacular to me a little bit, or they'll start having kind of an attitude when they talk to me. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. One, just because you're not matching me, since I don't really speak that way, but also number two, that's not yours. So like, stop. But again, I do want to mention that I really don't think it's coming from a racist place at all. If anything, I think it is coming from like hey, there's no black people here, and you're like, you're a black person, so we should be friends type of thing. That's just kind of the extent of it. Now, if you don't know me, I have lived in Philadelphia in the past. I lived in Rome, Italy. I was born there. I lived in Senegal in Africa. Obviously Black people there. I've lived in Dallas, Texas. I lived in Princeton, New Jersey, and so I lived in a decent amount of cities. So again, my understanding of diversity is shaped off of my own experiences. And if you're somebody who has come from a place that is very diverse, it's known for having a cultural variety. Even just living in Dallas, I knew that I could walk out of the house and see a lot of Black people. I knew that I could walk into different spaces and have the opportunity of making Black friends, of networking with Black people, and it didn't have to be a Black specific event. Whereas in Austin, in order to find a space that has a lot of Black people who are just gathered there like incidentally, or who are just like happen to be there, that is very rare, especially if you're just talking like the city limits of Austin. You're not gonna find that. Which leads me to my point that if you're a Black person who lives in Austin and you're looking to make Black friends and you're looking to meet Black people, is that you're gonna have to go out of your way to look for that. You're going to have to make an effort to find Black spaces, which means that you're gonna have to look up events either on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, Black events in Austin, Black roller skating in Austin, Black networking in Austin. Like those are things that you have to search for. I'm of the belief that we should not be normalizing having to do like a scavenger hunt to find people who look like you. I feel like we can all agree on that, hopefully. Luckily, Austin is not one of the places where Black people are kind of like pretend like they don't see you, because there's some Black people who, I'm not judging you for this, but who like prefer being around like white people or people who don't look like them. Maybe they feel safer, maybe they grew up in predominantly white places. Those Black people tend to kind of see you and they don't acknowledge you. Like we could be the only two Black people in the entire event, venue, whatever it is, and they'll just like look away. I don't know. I feel like if you're not part of a specific, of a minority community, you wouldn't understand this, but like the acknowledgement is important. And I feel like at least in Austin, there is that. There is the like, hey, I see you, you see me, cool. There is a vibrant like scene and there is an opportunity to meet people in Austin, but I feel like it would be beneficial to you to specifically seek out those events that I was talking about so that you can meet people. And one of my absolute favorite events that I found is called Sunday Sessions. And so at Zilker Park, every Sunday, depending on weather, there are Black DJs who come and they perform live music and they invite the entire Black community, but also everybody is invited. It is specifically run by like a Black group who is trying to let other Austinites know like, hey, I know you probably feel alone, but like Black people do exist. We are very scattered, but this is an event for all of us to come together and meet each other. So come on out. And obviously the event does not exclude anybody. Everybody is welcome to come. If you live in Austin, it's right by the volleyball courts at Zilker Park. If you're someone who's not part of the Black community, but maybe you find like comfort in diversity and different things, I definitely recommend going there. You'll meet a lot of people. You'll listen to cool new music and yeah, just go and chill. I feel like a lot of local artists also, I was talking to my boyfriend about this and we noticed how a lot of like local art is actually Black art. There's a lot of historical Black figures all throughout Austin. There's different, I'm sorry, I'm not very well versed in like street art, so I'm not gonna like label things, but you see a lot of like Black portraits or paintings that are like kind of, historically like Black Queen type of things. And it's so funny because we're like, yeah, there's so much of that. And yeah, if we played a game of like, okay, let's not play a game of spot the Black person. But like, you know what I mean? Like if you were to like intentionally look for Black people, it would take a lot longer to find. Sorry, this like went where I didn't want it to go. Being Black in Austin means that you know already that you're probably going to be the only Black person in that space, especially if you're going to like exercise classes, group classes, maybe like group events, wine and paint, wine and dine, whatever it is. Generally, like you're not going to be going there and then you're going to see a lot of people who look like you. I take yoga classes at various different yoga studios throughout Austin and I am almost always the only Black woman there. Black men, forget it, you're not even gonna find that. I feel like I don't really need to go over like the importance of diversity and the importance of not having a homogenous friend group. If you need to go over that, maybe it's best to have like that discussion in the comments so you can hear from other people. And that's just something that I grew up with. It is just bare minimum of like my existence on this planet is having everybody around me who looks diverse, who teaches me things, who speaks a different language, likes different food, came from a different place. Like that is so standard for me that I feel like I don't really need to explain the importance of that. Another point I want to make is in terms of like convenience. So living in Philly, you probably know this if you live in Philly, ever been there or have any ties to Philadelphia whatsoever. It's not difficult, nor is it inconvenient to find culturally different things. And so by that, I mean things like a black hair store, an Asian market. Like if I wanted to one day just like go to an Asian market and look for vegetables and fruits that I can't find at my local like American store, right? I can find that. Like in Philly, I could just take the subway real quick and I would be at an Asian market, right? A lot of the workers there don't even speak English. The traditional, authentic stuff, like that's what I liked. Or if I ever want to get my hair done or hair braided, I could find a lot of different braiders. Austin is inconvenient. I have noticed that North Austin has a decent amount of different like hair stores. In the East, there's like one. In the South, where I live now, there's also one that's actually good. And then in the West, I'm not really sure. The West is like Bee Cave, kind of like a hill country, rich people area, so probably null. With that being said, obviously there's a huge Hispanic demographic, which feels nice. And I also feel like these points are important, especially if you're, like I mentioned, if you're trying to settle roots in Austin, maybe trying to build a family here, and you are part of a diverse community, just keep in mind that there's a chance that your child is like the only black kid in school, or maybe like the only Asian kid in school. And I feel like it's your job as a parent making the decision if that's the type of environment that you want your kid to be raised in. My ex-roommate, she's a teacher at this one like private like elementary school, I think it is, and she had a picture of all her students on the fridge, and it was just like a sea of white kids and just a tiny little black kid. Having grown up somewhere that is super diverse and also spending a little bit of time in a city that wasn't, that creates an impact on, you know, kids. I feel like if it's important for you, obviously, to have your kid be in a very great school district or be in a private school and get a good education, and the only schools that provide that are predominantly white schools, then obviously there's not much you can do about that. And it's your responsibility as a parent to ensure that your kid doesn't have kind of like an identity crisis as they're growing up, you know, in an environment like that. The majority of Austin, like private schools or different educational environments, are going to be predominantly white. And so if you're not part of that community, just understand that that's the type of environment that your child's going to grow up in. All that being said, I think that Austin is still an awesome city to live in. I think there's a lot to do. Like I mentioned, there is a decent amount of like cultural variety in terms of music and the art scene. And I think that the only way for the city to keep growing is obviously to have these types of conversations, for more Black people and different ethnicities to move to Austin and experience it, because I think that it has a lot to offer outside of the city itself. There's a lot of nature activities and a lot of things that I really enjoy that don't even have anything to do with the city itself. If you're maybe a Black person and you have like a business that you run, or you would like to start one, if you have a restaurant you want to open up, I think that it'd be amazing to open it up here in Austin and to just keep the city growing in terms of like demographics. If you live in Austin or you visited it and maybe you have a different opinion or you agree on certain points that I made, I would definitely love to hear about them. So definitely leave them in the comments. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Are you naked? Bye.